Alright guys, welcome back. We are moving on to our next piece. The next piece is a dive into something called conditional logic. And what that basically means is we're going to have pieces of code that execute only if a certain condition is met. And then we're going to keep expanding it, making it more and more complex, and we're going to add more features. But for now, we just want to learn about something called the if statement. Alright, so I'm going to do a really easy example for this. So I'm going to say password equals input. What is the password? So I'm basically allowing the person to type in whatever they want as an input statement. And that's what we learned in chapter 5. We let the user type in things. So whatever they type in is going to get attached to the variable called password. Now here's where our new code comes in. If password equals, we got to use two equal signs for checking to see if something is true. Two equal signs are for comparing. One equal sign is for assigning a value. So we can like assign the variable password to the input asking what is the password. Now what I'm saying is if password has the value of, and let's just put in a really bad password, ABC123, then I'm going to put a colon. That's how we end our if statements. So if password equals ABC123, all right, then when I press enter, look what happens. We're tabbed in. We're nudged in a little bit from the side of the screen. And that's by design. Because what we're saying is if the password variable happens to be equal to the string of ABC123, do the following that's tabbed in. I'm going to print access granted. So I'm going to say like, welcome, you've been allowed into the system. Let's try running this and make sure it works. Okay, I click run, I'll save it. I already saved this as a file. You should be knowing how to do that. And I'm going to put in the correct password, ABC123. When I press enter, I get access granted. Now let's go back and run this again. Let's say my password is instead CBA321. We get nothing. So for the first time in our code, we've actually made a scenario where the code repeats, or not repeat, but activates only if, and that's the big thing, if the password variable is equal to ABC123. All right, we can even lower this down in complexity to go even further. I can say if 5 equals 5. I can print, yes, that is true. Now if I run this, I'm going to still get the response of yes, that is true. But if I go in and change it, for example, if 5 equals 6, I run it, and I get no result at all by running my code. So these if statements help us out quite a bit in getting things to show up, things to happen only when we want them to. This right here is a really silly, dumb example, but if I go back to the previous thing, you may notice that everything is kind of like undoing itself. That's the Control-Z function. I don't know if you know about that, but sometimes I'll drop little computer hints for you to play around with. All right, so these if statements help us a lot. So now, let me write another quick program as an example. I'm going to say raining equals input. Is it raining outside? Question mark, quote, and the parentheses. If raining equals yes, print, take an umbrella. Then I'm going to do another if statement. If raining equals no, print, don't take an umbrella. So I know it's kind of silly, kind of like obvious, but this is an example again to use code to make certain easy actions happen, and then we can enhance our code as time goes on. So I'm going to click run module again. Is it raining outside? If I say yes, it's going to say take an umbrella. I'm going to run it again. This time I'm going to say no. It's going to say don't take an umbrella. So we've written kind of like an advice program. It's not good by any means, but again, it does demonstrate the basic concepts that we are learning in this course. All right. But anyway, that's basically how this works for our code. We can have as many if statements as we would like. The last thing that I want to show you on here is if I run this code and I type in yes and I press enter, I get nothing. Did you see the difference of what happened though? If I snap this up a little bit, my yes was lowercase here, but I did an uppercase yes here. All right, so there are some tricks we can do. If you want to play around with some of our initial print statements that we originally learned, you could play around with some .upper and .lower things to play around with. I'm going to let you try to figure those things out, and if you do solve it or figure out a solution to accept an uppercase or lowercase or mixed case or anything else like that, please, please, please let me know. Post it in the comments section. If you use any of these words, those don't count because that's a future lesson that we're going to learn. But if you figure out something about this, send it my way. I'd like to see in the comments section. All right, so the assignment for this activity is what you're going to basically do is make a number guessing game from 1 through 10. And then you're going to also make a second game after. So let's talk about the first game, all right? 1 through 10. So you're going to have 10. Well, first you're going to ask an input to guess the number. Keep it as string, all right? And then you're going to have 10 if statements. And it's going to look something like this. If guess equals equals, and I'm going to put it in quotes. I also realize I need to fix one thing on here. If guess with 2 S's, there we go. It's going to look something like this. If guess equals 5, you win. If guess equals 6, print you lose. If guess equals 7, print you failed. You know, add a new comment or a new type of response for each of the 10 possible responses. You will not be able to play the game on repeat. Just please keep that in mind. That is something that in a future activity we're going to learn with something called looping. All right. Your second game, 1 through 100. All right. This is going to be a little bit more interesting. All right. We are going to ask an input to guess between 1 through 100. Now, you are not going to do 100 if statements. You are going to make this an integer. That's my big hint to you. If you can make your input as an integer, then you can just have 3 statements. If the guess is equal to the winning number, so let's say we have it as 42, because that's the answer to life, the mystery of life, I don't know, whatever the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy number is. It's the meaning of everything, basically. You could also have an if, why does it keep tabbing it? That's annoying. Okay. If the guess is greater than 42, and then you'll also have if the guess is less than 42. So notice on this one, even though you have 100 possible numbers to guess from, you only have to check for 3 possible things. All right? And it's your first time playing around with just a solid number as an item. But if you look back to what I had before when I said something like if 5 equals 5, notice there are no quotes on it, so they were not strings. All right? So that is the assignment you are to build for this, and later on in this course we're going to actually be taking this code and we're going to be putting it so it can play on repeat. So realize right now you have to run the game every time you want to play it. Is it annoying? Yes, but again, we're building the basic building blocks of what makes code work. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to leave you to it. And again, if you find any answers on that uppercase and lowercase thing, that's a pretty neat thing to goof around with if you want some extra bonuses to go after. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so best of luck playing with these if statements. In the next example, we're going to learn something else. We're going to have our if statement, and then we're also going to have backup plans or one single plan that in case our if statement doesn't work, we have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan E. We have all these different things that we can do that only happen when that first if check happens to fail for us. And that, again, will enhance how our code works. We'll look at some examples involving passwords, and we'll go from there. So, best of luck, and if you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them.